Hey, I want to welcome everybody to From Process to Pure Food Movement. Of course, you know me, I'm Ed Logan. Hey, I want to do a presentation with you today about processed food-like products. Okay, that's what we're going to call them because it's not food, it's processed food-like products. So let's look at this presentation and we're going to talk about how ultra and processed food like products actually affects us. And we're also going to look at the biblical principles. Okay, so this may take about 30 to 45 minutes. Hey, get your whatever it is, snacks you like to eat, nuts, watermelon, oranges, hey, cucumbers, whatever it is that you like to eat. Hey, join in with me as we're going to go through this presentation here. And hopefully you'll get a lot of information from it. All right? All right, let's go ahead and continue. Okay, so from process to pure food movement, understanding the impact of processed food like products on your health and your wealth from biblical principles. You do have to understand that how you eat plays an impact on your health. It also plays an impact on your wealth. You know, are you going to be spending your money towards your family? Are you going to be spending your money towards your home, maybe your cars, or are you going to be spending your money on your doctor bills? Are you going to be spending your money in the healthcare system because you're ill? So that's why this has been created for you, and hopefully this makes really good sense. Okay, we're going to go into the parable of the weeds. In Matthew chapter 13, verse 24, it says, "Another parable put forth he unto them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares amongst the wheat and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared tares also. So the servants of the house came and said unto him, Adonai," many of you know him as Lord, God, "did not you sow good seed in your field? From whence has it tares?" And he said unto them, "An enemy has done this." The servant said unto him, "Will you then that we go and gather them up?" But he said, "Nay, nah. Lest while you gather up the tares, ye root up also wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, Gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn." There's a lot of information that you could get from this, especially that last verse. First, gather up. Some versions will say the tares, meaning the wicked, and then gather up my righteous and bring them into my barn. Okay, so a lot of prophecy, a lot of prophetic scripture being talked about in this verse, but we are specifically right now talking about food. So the good master, he has created good food, wheat. We know we can use wheat for making bread. We can use wheat for making, for feeding animals. I mean, you can use wheat for lots of different things. And the wheat that was produced back during that time was a good wheat. Of course, the wheat that we have today is not like the ancient wheats. However, it's still pretty good wheat. I know a lot of people are allergic to gluten and things like that. But see, that wasn't an issue back then. So why is it such an issue today? Could it be the processed foods that we are consuming? Let's continue. So let's look at the side effects of eating darnel or tares. Number one, it causes nausea and vomiting. Consumption can lead to severe stomach upset, causing nausea and vomiting. Number two, dizziness and headaches. Darnel contains toxins that can affect the nervous system, leading to dizziness and headaches. Number three, tremors and seizures. High levels of toxicities can cause neurological symptoms such as tremors and, in severe cases, seizures. Here's another one. Listen. Gastrointestinal distress. Eating tares can result in abdominal pain, diarrhea, and other gastrointestinal issues. This doesn't sound far off from some of the food that we eat today. Number 5, drowsiness and fatigue. The toxins may cause extreme drowsiness and a sense of fatigue. How many of you all, when you eat a meal, you know it's processed, you eat a meal, and right after that you find yourself drowsy, low energy, sluggish? Respiratory problems. In some cases, severe poisoning can lead to respiratory distress. Number 7, hallucinations. The neurotoxic effects of darnel can cause hallucinations and altered mental state. Number 8, muscle weakness. Consuming tares can result in muscle weakness and difficulty in coordination. Number 9, death in extreme cases and poisoning, especially if large quantities are consumed. It can be fatal. Now, it's amazing to me that some of these things that we are reading from today, processed food causes some of the same kind of effects in our bodies. Now, back then, darnel, and today too, more of a weed, is considered to be toxic to the body. Excuse me. That's why people had to make sure that they didn't have darnel mixed in with the wheat, because they didn't want people getting sick because of the food. They didn't want to feed their livestock darnel, and darnel was going to definitely, or tares was definitely going to bother them. Okay, so let's look at this from the wheat standpoint. Okay, what is food? Food is a substance consumed to provide nutritional support for an organism. It is typically of plant, animal, or fungal origin and contains essential nutrients such as carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins, minerals that are necessary. If it's in the green, pay attention closely. Necessary for growth, energy, and maintenance of vital bodily functions. That's what food is for. Food is ingested and assimilated by the organism's cells to sustain life, promote growth, and provide energy for various physical metabolic activities. That just means metabolic means you're bringing in food and it's getting the energy prepared from the food and sending it out. Okay, so this is what food is. It's essential nutrients. It's necessary for growth, for energy. It provides energy for us, and maintenance of vital bodily functions, meaning your body needs this stuff to operate. It also sustains life. Without food, we die. Promotes growth. Think of a child. When a child is growing, it's helping the child grow. Think of our brains also. After we've had lots of ultra-processed food or processed food, our brain shrinks. Well, guess what? When you eat real food, it promotes growth of your brain. It provides energy. See, these things are so important. This is the true definition of what food actually is. Food is not harmful to your body. Food only helps your body. Okay, what Yahuwah, or as many of you call him God, says is food. All right, let's look at plants. In Genesis chapter 1 and 1, Genesis chapter 11. And Elohim said, let the earth bring forth grass, the plant that yields seed, and the fruit tree that yields fruit according to its kind, whose seed is in itself on the earth. And it became so. So now we see that plants and also fruit is food for us. That's what he declared from the beginning. Genesis 12. And the earth brought forth grass, the plants that yield seed according to its kind, and the tree that yields fruit, whose seed is in itself according to its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. All right, so here we have again, is given an explanation of what our food actually is. You know, and the sad part about it is today that the food has been so tampered with today that a lot of the fruit that we have doesn't have seed in it. A lot of the heavily manufactured farms and things like that, they produce these fruits with no seeds. The thing that I loved about when I was down in Florida and I went to the fruit market was that all of the fruit that I bought down there had seed in it. But when you start moving up to the northern part of the states, where I live, you can find seeded fruit, but it's very hard to find seeded fruit. So you have to make a decision. Either you're not going to eat the fruit, you're probably not going to eat any fruit. If you make that decision because it doesn't have seed, you're probably, for the most part, not going to eat any fruit. If you look at bananas, historically, what we see today is not what they were historically. Bananas had actually big seeds in them. Today, they don't have any seeds in them. You may find a little black speck, but that's not what the seed really is. So then you would say you can't eat bananas. So do you see what I'm saying? So you're going to have to make a decision. If you can't eat any fruit, at least you know that fruit that doesn't have seed, at least you know it grows from the ground. Okay, it's not raised and made in a lab. It does actually grow from the ground. So that's what I always tell people when they ask me that, at least it grows from the ground. And you want to talk about praying for your food, that's the food to pray for. This other stuff out here, this ultra processed stuff that's being performed and made for us to consume, that is edible junk. Why waste the Father's time in praying for that stuff? It's been designed to be that way. All right. Genesis 1:29, and Elohim said, see, I have given you every plant that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it is for food. Okay, last verse, it says, and out of the ground made Yahuwah Elohim to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So you see here that the food that Adam and Eve saw, that they sinned with, it says that it was good for food. It was pleasant to the sight. And they had every tree in the garden to eat from. But the wicked serpent tricked them into eating the food from the tree of life. They had all of those trees, and only that one, the Most High said, don't touch. And the serpent, of course, got them to eat from that one that was pleasant to the eye. Okay, so he's showing us what our foods are. And of course, later he goes on and he talks to Noah, I believe, Genesis chapter 9, verse 3 and 4. He allows Noah and his family to begin to eat meat. Okay, so I'm not one of those who says we should not eat meat. However, I do not approve of how the animals are raised today and what they do, how they slaughter those animals. I don't agree with that, and that's why I really don't eat meat today. But if someone, found people who were raising the animals organically, letting them eat from the ground, and they weren't, slaughtering them in a very harsh way, then, hey, that sounds like meat to me. The Bible condones it. So who am I to not condone people eating real meat that has not been shot up with antibiotics, preservatives, colorings, and all this stuff? Who am I when the Most High has declared that they can? Who am I to tell you that you can't? And that's what I find a lot of people doing. And we better be careful that we are not stepping into the role of the Most High when he's given permission. Okay? I'm speaking specifically about the meat that is raised today that they have shot up and the way that they are raising them. I'm saying that meat we should not eat. But meat that has been raised kosher, hey, have at it if that's what you choose to do. And we'll talk more about meat in coming times. Okay, so what Yahuwah says is food. Genesis chapter 9 and verse 3. Every creeping creature that lives is food for you. I have given you all as I gave the green plants. And then Genesis 9 and 4. But do not eat flesh while its life, its blood. So do not eat flesh with its life, its blood. So don't eat the flesh with blood in it, is what he is saying. And we'll go through other scriptures that is going to tell us what kind of meats we can actually eat. Like, for example, Noah. Noah knew what clean meat was, and he knew what unclean meat was because he brought in more clean. I think it was 7 of the animals that were clean and 1 pair of the animals that was unclean. So the Most High lets his people know what is good to eat and what is not good to eat. Noah and his family knew which animals they could eat and they knew which animals they could not eat. And we're going to go over those verses at some point. So, if you don't understand what I'm saying, we're going to go over that and we're going to talk about those specific verses because it's good to understand. It says the Most High says he doesn't change. Okay, so we can't believe that he is this way over here and now he's all of a sudden changed and done a 360 and he's this way over here. He's already confirmed in his word that he does not change. So if you're understanding and you're starting to feel some confusion about the word, just know it has nothing to do with him. It has to do with man. Okay, it has to do with a translation interpretation, or it has to do with man. It has to do with somebody like me who may say something wrong. Okay, so the Most High's word is true. We just have to make sure that we look at what his word is actually saying and not look at the doctrines of men who come up with these different doctrines, okay? Okay, so now let's get into the tear. The tears are what we would call a tear today as far as what we would consider to be food and not food. Okay, so a tear, processed or ultra-processed foods. All right, ultra-processed foods are industrially formulated products made predominantly or entirely from food substances extracted from food. That's like oils, fats, sugars, starch, and proteins. They take this out. Okay, derived from food constituents, hydrogenated fats and modified starches, or synthesized in laboratories from food substrates or other organic sources, enhanced colors, and artificial sweeteners. These foods typically contain minimal, and let me rephrase that, these food-like substances typically contain minimal whole foods and are designed to be convenient, hyper-palatable, meaning for your brain just to go crazy when it tastes it. Hyper-palatable means your taste buds love it. And shelf-stable. Okay, so that's what processed or ultra-processed food-like products are. Okay, we know them as food today. That's what we've been accustomed to. All right, so let's talk about food-like products. Okay, so during my studying and during my research, I just couldn't say that it's food because it didn't provide energy. When I ate ultra-processed food or processed food, it didn't provide energy. It didn't help me grow. I mean, it helped me grow out. It helped me grow into a big person, but it wasn't helping my body grow. It was, matter of fact, causing things to shrink, but putting fat on my body. So let's look at food-like products because we can't call it food. And that's why I changed it. It's not food, okay? We just got the definition of food. All right, food-like products. Food-like products are substances, are items that resemble food in appearance, taste, and convenience, but often lack the nutritional value and health benefits of whole, unprocessed foods. These products are typically created through extensive industrial processing and often contain artificial ingredients, additives, and preservatives. Here are key characteristics and examples of food-like products or substances. Okay, so let's look at another term that I use, foodish. Okay, foodish is an informal term used to describe items that resemble food in appearance, taste, or function, but do not necessarily meet the criteria of being wholesome, nutritious, or naturally derived. These items often fall into the category of highly processed or ultra-processed products that are engineered to mimic the qualities of real food while often lacking the nutritional benefits. Okay, so a lot of times you're hearing me now say, food like substances or food like products, or it's foodish. It's not really food. You're going to hear me say those. I want these to be terms that you are able to adopt, because what we are eating that is being provided for us in packaged substances is not food for us. They harm our bodies. Okay, let's continue. Biblical foundation, respecting the body as a temple. Now, let me say this. For some of you, this is going to be tough to hear, but it is from the Word. All right? So let's look at what the Bible is saying through the biblical foundations, just about our bodies being the temple. Okay? Key verse, 1 Corinthians 3:17. If any man defiles the temple of God, him shall God destroy. For the temple of God is holy, which temple you are. Interpretation emphasizes the importance of maintaining the holiness of the body. It is so important for us to think about, we have to be a holy people to him. So can we only be holy in mind and in thought? No. We have to be holistically holy in spirit, holy in mind, thought, holy in our bodies. All right? And I know that that's tough to hear for some people, because when I was actually preaching, in front of congregations, I was overweight. Yet I called myself holy. But what I was doing to my body, no, it was not holy. That's not what I was doing. And it's okay according to the world. Hey, it's okay, no big deal. So I'm not putting down people who are overweight. Look, I was there. I did that. I'm just saying it's not right. There are certain issues that I could not touch. Being overweight, being a pastor, and I have people in the assembly who are overweight, who I know are dealing with discipline problems, self-control issues. These are serious sins in the Bible. But I couldn't touch them. Why? Because that's where I was. So I stayed away from them. He calls us to be holy unto him. You've heard me say many times, those of us who are overweight, we wear our sin on us openly. It's not like a pet sin. Everybody gets to see it. It's not a hidden sin. No, everybody gets to see our sin. And that's why it's so important for us to get our bodies under control, to be holy unto him. And not only that, when we're overweight like that, I was destroying my body. Do you hear? I was destroying my body because of what I was consuming, and because of what I was packing on me was how it was affecting my body. I know it's tough to hear, and I know that we don't hear that from very many people today, but it's the truth, and we have to speak the truth in love. Okay, so let's look at these words, destruction. Destruction in Greek and Hebrew. In Greek, patheria, to corrupt, to spoil, to ruin. Now, with that Greek word right there, think about, let's say highly processed or processed foods. The processed foods that we're consuming, with all the additives, with all the chemicals, with all the colorings, everything that they put into it, which we have no idea what most of it is it helping our bodies to grow, giving us energy, or is it corrupting? Is it spoiling? Is it bringing our bodies to ruin? It's a question we all have to ask. The Hebrew word, shachat, means to destroy, ruin, spoil. Destroy, ruin, spoil. Think about that last word. You think of food spoiling. Now, there is a disease that we acquire from the way that we eat and what we eat. If you think of in terms of what it does, it's called diabetes. It actually causes our bodies to spoil, believe it or not. That's why you see people. I've had relatives who's had to have toes amputated, feet amputated, legs amputated. It's spoiling your body. It's degrading, degenerating your body. And truly, these diseases do it. And the doctors of these people who have these done, they tell them, hey, you got to stay away from this. You got to stay away from that. You got to learn to eat this and learn to eat that. And I've heard with my own ears, I've eaten this way all my life and I'm not about to change. And people wind up dying. So we have to be very careful. Let's look at the application of this. Consuming unhealthy processed food-like products can be seen as defiling the body. It's akin to the biblical concept of destruction. I know you may have seen these on my shorts that I put out. And I'm actually coming from this particular presentation right here when I'm talking, when I'm up in front of the audience and I'm talking. Of course, I was probably a little bit more passionate then, but this is a different setting, so I'm able to describe this to you a little more. We bring destruction to our bodies. And remember, he just told us, anyone who destroys his body, he's going to destroy. So I know that it's not taught much, and I'm sure that there are people who are out there teaching this message. I just don't know very many. But we really have to look and compare the word of the Bible to what we are doing in our lives. All right, let's continue. Let's look at some of these studies. Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. The article is The Nutrition Source, Processed Foods and Health. The summary of this article explains the different levels of food processing and their health impacts. It highlights the highly processed foods are linked to obesity, diabetes, hypertension, and other chronic diseases due to their high content of added sugar, unhealthy fats, and sodium. Okay, so this is a study that you can go back and look it up yourself. I wanted to provide some studies for us to be able to see. Okay, health implications. The health implications are these: nutritional deficiencies. Highly processed foods often lack essential nutrients like vitamins, minerals, and other fibers. The increased risk of chronic disease. See, this is where preventable chronic disease originates from. Diets high in processed and ultra-processed foods are linked to obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and certain cancers. Additive properties. Ultra-processed foods are designed to be highly palatable, which can lead to overeating and food addiction. So remember, when you hear me say highly processed foods, I know that's what's written down, but it's really food-like products. That's really what we're talking about, which can lead to overeating and food addiction. So many of you wonder why you feel like you're addicted to this stuff. It's because that's the way that it has been created. It has been created for you to be addicted to it. That's why it's a product. It's a product that makes you addicted to it. Okay, World Health Organization, WHO or WHO, report Healthy Diet. This is the one that you can look this report up. It's called Healthy Diet from World Health Organization. The summary: the World Health Organization discusses the role of unhealthy diets, particularly those high in processed foods, in the development of non-communicable diseases such as heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and cancer. It recommends reducing the intake of processed foods to improve health. Now you have the World Health Organization saying, if you want to get better, don't eat processed food. And these are non-communicable diseases. Like, you can't walk past somebody and sneeze on them and they got heart disease all of a sudden. No, this is something that has been created in your body because you ate it. You can't pass it on to someone else. This is something, it's a preventable chronic disease that is going on within your body. Okay, Journal of American Medical Association, they call it JAMA. Study, association of ultra-processed food consumption with risk of mortality among middle-aged adults in France. Now, this is a study being done in France, but the United States leads the way in ultra-processed foods. They, of course, have lots of ultra-processed foods as well. Why? Because they're like the West. It's the same thing. Summary, this study provides evidence linking high consumption of ultra-processed foods to an increased risk of mortality. It discusses potential pathways, including nutrient imbalance and the presence of harmful additives. Guys, it's over and over again talking about these chemicals, this processed food that we are eating. It's killing us. It is destroying our temple in which the Spirit lives, or in which it's supposed to live. Let me ask you a question. If you're defiling your body, is the Spirit going to be willing to live in a defiled body? I know that's a strong question. That's a question that we have to ask. If we have defiled bodies, I know that many people think that today the whole defile thing is no more. That's Old Testament stuff. And I'm telling you that it's not. You can still defile your body. Okay? We read that from the Newer Testament. Okay? I call it the Newer Covenant. That's where we actually read that from, about destroying your body. Okay? So that's untrue. Okay, doing good to your temple. James chapter 4 and 17. Therefore, to him that knows to do good and does it not, to him it is sin. For you to know that processed foods is destroying your body, and to know that the Father has declared what food is for us, and we continue to consume it, we fail to do good, it is sin unto us. Don't sin. Eat what is good, what is healthy, what is nourishing, what is nutrition for your bodies. And stay away from the stuff that destroys our bodies. Okay, 1 Corinthians 6, 19 through 20, and we're wrapping it up. This is like the next to the last one. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God, or Yahuwah? You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God, Yahuwah, with your bodies. You were bought at a price. There was an exchange of service, an offering that was made for you. He gave his life for you. You are not your own. I didn't have this kind of teaching when I was obese. I didn't hear this in the church. I didn't hear this in the assemblies. I didn't hear it. Because yes, many of us was overweight. And he's teaching us right now, if we destroy our bodies, what do you think it's going to be? If it's hard for the righteous to make it in. I truly had a God in my stomach, and it was called my appetite. I had an idol in my stomach. It was called my appetite. And I did everything that it asked for me to do. Today, it is time for you to make a decision. Will you leave that? Will you leave that and begin to do what is good? Because the Spirit of the living Elohim lives inside of you. So do your part to do what is best. Do good to your body so that it will not be considered as sin unto you. Hey, listen, this is a movement. This is a movement to help Bible-based people move away from processed food and begin to eat whole food. Hey, why don't you join me in this movement? A movement to go out and tell people, hey, this is how our king, all of us, we want to be sitting at the king's table when he returns. And we'll be used to the food that he's going to prepare for us because why? Because it's going to come from the ground. It's going to come from the trees. And if we're eating food then at that time, as I read a lot of prophecies, I at least read, we're going to be eating fish during that time. So listen, let's do what is right before him. Join the movement from processed to pure food. All right. Hey, I hope that this presentation was good for you. I hope that you learned some things from it. If you have questions, please put it in the comment section. If you disagree, put it in the comment section. I choose to live by the word. I choose not to live by any man. I choose to only live what his word says. All right. And I hope that many of you decide to do that too, if you're not doing that. All right. I pray that the Most High be with you and your journey be great. All right. You all take care. Bye-bye.